Hey, welcome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Spring BioBlitz kickoff event. Happy day one of BioBlitzing. I am so excited about this, and I'm so excited that it's finally spring as well. And it's such a nice day outside, so hopefully you can get out to Riverwood and take some pictures for the first day. I want to say a special thanks to Climate Impact and Ontario Trillium Foundation for making this BioBlitz possible. Through these BioBlitzes, we are hoping to get a better understanding of the impacts climate change has on our biodiversity. So thank you, Climate Impact and Ontario Trillium Foundation, for making this possible. And a special thank you to our board of directors for donating $4 total for each species that's seen throughout the BioBlitz. So every time you observe a new species that hasn't been observed by anybody else during the BioBlitz, $4 is donated to the Riverwood Conservancy by our board members. So thank you so much, board members, for supporting us as well. And I'm really looking forward to see what we can find. And if you want to check out what's happening in April, other than the BioBlitz, there's lots of programs that are now on our website at the riverwoodconservancy.org/events. And there you can register for anything in person and virtual. Anything in yellow you see on your screen is virtual. So the only other virtual program we have coming up is on Tuesday, and that's the Nature Trivia Night. And then we have lots of green, which is our in-person programs. There's only one in-person program that has been fully subscribed, and that's our tree planting program on the 23rd. So check out our website if you want to join any of those programs. We do have ones that are specific to the BioBlitz, like our Citizen Science Walk next week, and also aquatic macro inverts program. So check those out. And the Riverwood Conservancy is a charity organization. We appreciate all types of support, including volunteering, participation in our programs, and membership. If you have the means to donate today, you can support our work at the riverwoodconservancy.org/donate. And the Riverwood Conservancy would like to acknowledge that the lands on which we operate is the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional homeland of the Anishinaabe, Wendat, and Haudenosaunee nations. Today, this place is still home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on this land. So good morning, everyone. If you have not met me before, my name is Stephanie Keeler. I am the Community Program Coordinator at the Riverwood Conservancy, and I will be kind of the lead contact for this BioBlitz. So if you do have any questions that come up after this presentation that you didn't get answered during this presentation, feel free to reach out to me and email me. And I'll be on site a whole lot throughout the BioBlitz too. So if you see me, feel free to say hi. During this webinar, we are going to be going through a couple things, and this is our schedule for today. So first, we're going to be going through what a BioBlitz actually is, how to use iNaturalist, which is the app that we'll be using to actually follow through with the BioBlitz. And I'll be going through how to use it on a phone and computer, what to take images of, the contest rules, and of course, prizes, which is everyone's favorite. And then at the end, we do have some time for questions. If you have questions that pop up throughout the presentation, though, please feel free to just type them in the chat and I'll see it pop up on my screen. And we can just address that right as the question pops up so that we're all on the same screen too. So let's get right into it. And like I said, any questions, please just put them in the comments section. I am working alone, so if you're watching from Facebook, those questions will have to wait until the very end because I can't have so many screens. I only have 2 screens, unfortunately. I wish I had 3 to watch all the Facebook chat too, but if you do have questions, you could type them underneath Facebook too. So what is a BioBlitz? A BioBlitz is a temporary citizen science effort to record as many species as possible within a specific location and time. So citizen science is basically members in the public or in the community that are coming together to contribute to science. So I'm not a scientist. I don't know if anybody watching is a scientist, but basically if we record anything and contribute to science in some way, we are called citizen scientists. So when it says species, what it means is plants, animals, tracks, anything you see. So for plants, we have trees, wildflowers, weeds, etc. Animals could be birds, mammals, insects, fish, reptiles, amphibians, insects, anything like that as well. And then tracks as well. I'll be talking about this in a moment, but any kind of tracks that you find at Riverwood count as well. So footprints, scat, fur, holes in the trees, anything like that. Biodiversity is life's variety on Earth, and essentially it is a telltale sign of the health of an ecosystem. So by identifying as many species that live within an ecosystem during different times of the year, you can actually track populations and if the populations are changing. And that's kind of our main interest for this BioBlitz, is how climate change is impacting the populations or the biodiversity at Riverwood in particular. And we're going to keep these records and the data that is contributed by citizen science, and to see in a couple years if our populations are changing, if there's different species, if there's species that are not here anymore. So we're going to be looking at all this data in the future as well. And it's really, really helpful for us to understand the impacts that climate change has. And location is, it has to be at Riverwood. For this BioBlitz in particular, it has to be at Riverwood. And here is an actual screenshot from the iNaturalist app. And this is the boundary of Riverwood. Anything recorded outside of this boundary, so for example, Arundel, it will not go towards this BioBlitz in particular. Feel free to do that. Like I post on iNaturalist anywhere, but if you want all of your observations to go to this BioBlitz, you have to be within the boundaries. And this map is on iNaturalist. I'll be going through how to ensure that your observation is actually within these boundaries too. And then time. So our BioBlitz is a month long and it is any time of day. A lot of times these BioBlitzes can be shorter. So for example, if you've ever taken part in the Christmas bird count, that's usually about one day that you go out anywhere in Ontario and you bird all day from dawn to dusk. And that's a one-day event that you do, and that contributes to a citizen science effort. And that's a one-day BioBlitz, but some of them are very long. So for example, Credit Valley Conservation has a long BioBlitz, the Butterfly BioBlitz, which is the entire summer. So ours is somewhere in between. It's about a month long. It really varies from organizations. And it also varies of what you want to find out, right? So ours will be running April 15th to May 15th, 2022. So this is our BioBlitz from last year. We had one in the fall throughout the month of October. And these are some of the successes from our BioBlitz. And this was also made possible by climate impact. So these are the top 10 species that we're seeing within the month of October. So we have turkey tail fungus, which was #1 most observed, which is really, really interesting. And then coming in second was eastern chipmunk. And coming in third was the sugar maple. So all seem very much relevant to the season, of course. But I'm wondering if we can beat this, if we can observe more species. So if you look up here, through the BioBlitz last October, there was over 1,500 observations, which is incredible. 509 species observed. Identifiers, I'll explain a little bit later on. It's a little bit different. But 41 people contributed to the BioBlitz in the fall, which is amazing and so exciting. So let's see if we can make more observations of species this time around. So how to use iNaturalist. So I recommend, if you're watching right now, if you want to bring out your phone so you can follow along, or if you want to open up a window on your screen, if you intend on using your computer for the BioBlitz, just so that you can follow along. I do find that on your phone, it's a little bit more user-friendly, but you can use either. If you don't have a phone, you can use your computer as well. But I do find the phone is a little bit easier at times. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get iNaturalist, and that is that screen right here. You'll be looking for the little green bird, and you can download this app on your phone. If you are using your computer, you just type in iNaturalist on Google, and it will open up a screen for you to follow along on your desktop. We're going to start out, however, with the phone. And once again, that's the logo you are looking for. It is a free app, and it's supported by many big organizations, so there's no concern there. So just download this app. And then to join our BioBlitz project using the phone, so once again, we're just doing the phone first and we'll do the computer after. Step number 1 is you're going to go into projects. After you've downloaded the app, iNaturalist app, you've created an account, which is free as well. You're going to go to projects. Then you're going to go up to the search bar and you're going to search for TRC Spring BioBlitz 2022. And then the third thing you're going to do is you're going to click join. It says leave here on my screen because I've already joined the BioBlitz and I can't leave it because I've actually created the account. So in the top left corner, you're going to see a button that says join, and you're going to click join. It's going to just think for a second, and then it will tell you that you've joined the BioBlitz. And that's all you have to do. Once you've joined this project, you are good to go to start taking images right away. If you're familiar with iNaturalist already, these are probably the best steps that you could take, and you could just head out to Riverwood right away and start submitting observations. But I will be going through how to actually submit those observations using your phone as well. Is there any questions on how to join the BioBlitz? Download the app, create an account, search for our BioBlitz, and join it in the projects. Okay, next you're going to want to start submitting observations using your phone. So how do you start taking pictures of animals and insects and plants and putting that into the BioBlitz? So step number 1, you're going to click observe at the bottom middle. This may look different. If you're an Android user, it may look slightly different. This is iPhone, so this is from my own phone, but if you are an Android user, you may have to play around a little bit. The wording should be the same, but it may not be in the same location. So for me, it says observe at the bottom middle. I believe Android might be the top left. There may be 3 lines, and then it gives you the option. I could be wrong on that, but just look around for a button that says observe. Once you click on that button, it will give you several options. So you can either use your camera. So what that means is that you would take a picture directly from the app. So if you were out in the field and you clicked on camera, it would open your camera on your phone and you could take a photo directly in the app. So it just downloads straight to the app. Or you can use camera roll. And this is what I usually like to do. So what I do is I go to Riverwood and I take hundreds of pictures of different plants, animal species, fungus, and then I go home and I get on my iNaturalist app at home and I just click camera roll, and that will open up all the photos you've taken on your phone. And then you could submit everything that you have from your camera roll. And that way you're not using data in the field. You don't need data or Wi-Fi when you're actually at Riverwood in the field in the forest. And you can just go home and use your Wi-Fi at home to upload everything. I find that's a little bit easier than actually submitting it straight from iNaturalist, but whatever you prefer. There may be, if you have the updated version of iNaturalist, there may also be an option to record sound. Recording sound can kind of be difficult, especially when there's lots of different sounds happening. Right now, with all the birds kind of migrating back into the area, there may be a lot of different birds singing at once, so it may be difficult to record sound. But if there's just one sound that's kind of isolated and you can record it, you can also do that as well. And then next thing you're going to do after you have gone into your camera roll or you've taken a photo, this is what it's going to look like. So I uploaded a photo of these yellow flowers in the top right. Actually, I'm going to make sure that you can see. Let me get my laser pointer. I have that. I think you may be able to see. There it is. So I took a picture of these little yellow flowers that were by Chapel Creek, and I was wondering what these were. So you're going to upload it, and this is what it's going to look like. The next thing you're going to click is what did you see? And what this does is it uses image recognition to actually scan that entire photo, and it compares it to other photos that people have taken around the world, and it suggests a species of plant that would be. It's really, really cool. And it's scary sometimes how exact it can be. It's very interesting. So once you click what did you see, what will happen is it will come up with all of these different suggestions. So the top one is genus, and I'll be explaining that a little bit in a second. But these bottom ones, it usually suggests about 10 species that it could possibly be. So it suggested possibly it's coltsfoot, possibly it's a dandelion, possibly a red-seeded dandelion, and then there was some sort of fly that it thought it could have possibly been. Now, after observing, and if you click this little I button, you can actually see and compare your photo with other people's photos, and to understand maybe that's the right species. Maybe it did identify it correctly, which it did. So I clicked on coltsfoot. Now, if you have a photo and you're not sure that iNaturalist suggested the right thing, the right species, I suggest you go with genus. So up here. So if you can remember back to, I think maybe grade 4, maybe grade 6, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. So you're getting more specific as you go down the pyramid. The species is the most specific thing that you can click on. But if you aren't certain with the species that are suggested to you in iNaturalist, you can click on the genus here as well, which will be suggested. If nothing is suggested at all, and I put this flower into iNaturalist and it says, I have no idea what this is, you can also say, I think it's a plant. And what you do is you just look up the species name and you can just put plant in there. And people will actually be able to see your photo and your suggested ID, and then they can help you with actually identifying it down to the species level as well. So if you're not certain, I would always go up a notch. I wouldn't put species if you're not certain. I would go up to genus and just try to cover all the bases so that people can actually identify it for you. That makes sense to everyone. Please feel free to ask questions if not. Okay. So the next thing, after you've selected what species you think it is, so I think it's a coltsfoot after identifying and looking and comparing, there's a couple things to look at. So some of these details down here you don't have to worry about, but let's go through them. The first one is the date and the time. This is usually already attached to the image you took. So if you're an iPhone or an Android user, there should already be a date and time that's attached to every single one of your photos that you've ever taken in your phone. So when you upload it to iNaturalist, this should automatically be here. If it's not, in the rare case, if it's not there, just make sure you input this, because if it's not within April 15th to May 15th, it won't be put into our BioBlitz. Our BioBlitz won't be able to pick up that data. Another thing I want to note too, my bigger camera, like my Canon camera, for the longest time, the date was wrong on it. And so make sure it's up update your date on your actual camera if you're using a larger Canon or some other professional camera, because once you upload that to your computer as well, the date may be wrong on it too. So just making sure that the date and time is correct. The next thing is the location. So just like the date, this should technically be attached to the photo you've taken if you're an Android or an iPhone user. Most larger professional cameras have some sort of GPS coordinate, so they'll have a latitude and longitude associated with that photo, but not all. So just making sure that you have the location correct. It should say the Riverwood Conservancy when you do put in the location. If not, you can actually search. It will give you an option to search and change where the location is. A couple things that came up from last BioBlitz is people were struggling. They were putting in a photo or an observation and they said, well, the location was at Riverwood. So this is what your location should look like. It should be very specific and to the point. But sometimes what happens is if your GPS coordinate from your phone or your camera wasn't able to exactly pinpoint where you were during that day, maybe you were struggling, maybe you were under a lot of tree cover, it will just put a broader range location for where you were when you took that photo of the plant. And what happens is if any range of your location is outside of the boundaries of Riverwood, as you can see, it's outside the boundaries of Riverwood here, it will actually not go to our BioBlitz because our BioBlitz, it's only specific to Riverwood. So if any point of this location is outside our boundaries, it won't be added. So if you do take an image and you add it to iNaturalist and then you say it's not automatically going to the BioBlitz, just go back, edit it, and check the location to make sure that the actual range is very specific and only within our boundaries, if that makes sense. A lot of this may be very confusing, but I promise if you go through the app and just play around with it, it gets easier and easier. And for a lot of the programs upcoming, I'll be in attendance too. So if you have any questions that you want to bring to me in person, you could do that as well. The next one is geo-privacy. Now, this one is a little bit different. And basically, geo-privacy can be set to open, obscured, or private. Open means that the location is exactly where that species or that observation was found. Obscured means it makes the range larger, so you're unable to exactly locate that species or that animal or that plant. And private means it's not publicly viewable at all. So people cannot, the regular people cannot see that location, but scientists can. You do not need to worry about this selection at all. You don't need to play with it. If you identify a species at risk, endangered, or any other kind of conservation status, it will automatically update what it should be. So it will make it obscured or private so that people don't know where something is. So for example, if you found, I don't know, a wood turtle at Riverwood, which you won't, but if you found a wood turtle at Riverwood, that would go to private. Automatically, the geo-privacy would be private, just so that people don't know where that wood turtle is, because it's a very, very endangered species of turtle. But don't worry about that. I just usually get a lot of questions about geo-privacy and what that means. The next one down is captive versus cultivated, and this is a big one. So anything deemed captive, so for example, a dog or a cat, a goldfish, a released rabbit at Riverwood would be captive. Anything cultivated, like any garden beds, we have lots of garden beds around Riverwood. We have some out front of Chapel House. We have some on Chapel Lawn. We have our new pollinator garden. We have vegetable gardens. We have all gardens all across Riverwood. Regardless of if these plants are native, we will not be adding them to the BioBlitz. Anything within a garden bed is not going to be added to the BioBlitz. And this is because it's not really naturalized. It doesn't occur there naturally. So even if it is native, humans still planted it, so it doesn't really help us to understand the biodiversity at Riverwood, if that makes sense. So anything in gardens or any dogs, cats, goldfish, do not go in the BioBlitz. Anything wild only. So any plants that are wild and growing in the forest or any other ecosystem, those would be observed. And the last one is projects. And if you follow the first couple of steps where you join the TRC Spring BioBlitz 2022 project, and all of these requirements are met, it will automatically upload this to the project. So you, once again, you don't have to worry about this. So basically, you shouldn't, if you upload a photo, you shouldn't have to worry about any of these. But if these two don't automatically update, you may have to update each one, which can be kind of tedious sometimes, but these are the two that you just need to ensure. And these three at the bottom, not a big deal. And then you press share. And then once you press share, it will go out into the world and people will actually see your observation. So I just uploaded this a while ago. So I have another example for you. This is kind of what it looks like once you've shared a species. So this is another animal that I took a photo of. This is called a white-throated sparrow. I went through that whole process and I shared it with the world. And basically what we're looking for, or the goal for each of these observations, is to get it to research grade. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry there. But basically what research grade means is that scientists can use that image, the location, the timing of your observation to do research on that specific species. So if a scientist was studying the white-throated sparrow, they could use your observations to better understand their movements and their distributions and things like that. So it's really, really cool what you're adding to, because scientists, if you think about it, one scientist can't survey for all the white-throated sparrows within the world. So by having community members contribute to this project, they're able to actually cover the ground easier. Now, to get research grade, other people on the app have to agree with your suggested ID, or they may disagree as well. So for example, I suggested an ID said white-throated sparrow, and then other people, I just blurred their names and their photos. They also suggested white-throated sparrow, and that's actually the only reason I got research grade, because people agreed with me. This photo is of a white-throated sparrow, and I'm just checking the chat. All right, I just see somebody say under project, I couldn't find TRC Spring BioBlitz 2022. Okay, I will assist you in at the end of the program, if that's okay. Thank you so much for letting me know. That's very strange. So what we're looking for is it to be research grade. So you really want people to agree with your suggestion. Now we're moving on to how to use it on your computer. It's basically the exact same thing. It just looks slightly different. If you have a professional camera, this is where you kind of want to upload it. So you want to upload it or download all of your image from your camera to your computer and then upload it to iNaturalist website. And this is what the website kind of looks like. What you'll do is you'll go up to community. You'll circle around projects. And projects will open all the different kind of projects that are currently running. So there's the City Nature Challenge coming up, all sorts of different projects. If you want to check out other ones, they're pretty cool as well. But in the search bar, you're going to put TRC Spring BioBlitz 2022. You're going to press go. It will bring you to the BioBlitz page. This is what it looks like on your web browser. And then on the top right here, it will say join. And then once you join, it tells you how many members are actually in there. I think right now we're at 36, which is amazing. That's really, really exciting to see so many people interested. But this was actually taken 2 days ago. So a lot of people have started joining the BioBlitz and getting excited about it. So once you've joined that, it's basically the same process. You'll click upload. And once you click upload, it will give you this option. So on your screen, you'll see this. It will say drag and drop some photos or sounds. So once you've downloaded all of your photos from your camera onto your desktop, then you could just drag and drop those photos. And it's the same process. You'll go through location, timing, what you think that animal is, the location, things like that. So If you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me, but it's pretty much the same process as on your phone. Okay, next, what to take images of. This is probably the most asked questions, and really the broad way of saying it is everything. Take pictures of everything that you can find in Riverwood in the wild. To start, I will say there are some things to keep in mind before we go out on the trail, and that's the leave no trace principles. So dispose of waste, any waste that you're bringing out. I know many of you don't litter, but just disposing of anything that you bring. Leave what you find behind. So if you find a really pretty flower or some cool bark or anything like that, just leaving it behind also and not bringing it with you to identify it later. Stay on the trail. This is probably the biggest one right now. If you see a really, really cool species way in the forest and you want to run and go over to it, I really ask that we stay on the trail. Riverwood has so many new trails that are forming. And really, we want to keep the one trail that we have for humans so that all the rest of the forest can be for our wildlife and our animals. So staying on the trail is a really big one. And then the last one, respecting wildlife. Obviously, we want to get the best photo. We want to get really close to the animals so that we can get that photo. But making sure that they're comfortable with how far you are from them. If it's a larger mammal, obviously keeping your distance from them so that they can feel comfortable and still act naturally. So what you can take photos of, birds. Birds is probably going to be the top one this spring as the spring migration comes back, but we have lots of really pretty birds that will be arriving in the next couple of weeks. So black-capped chickadee, probably everyone's favorite and most common. But we have lots of different beautiful warblers that will be back soon, grosbeaks and woodpeckers as well. So photos of birds, absolutely. Mammals, all sorts of mammals, coyotes and deers as well have been spotted a lot lately. So adding any mammals and squirrels too. Some people skip right past squirrels because they think they're very common, but squirrels can be absolutely added to the BioBlitz. And we have two different species on site, the gray squirrel and the red squirrel. So and we have a chipmunk too. So if you take a picture of those three, you have 3 species right off the bat, and those are pretty easy starters. Reptiles and amphibians. We have a lot of reptiles and amphibians that are waking up after a long winter time. So toads, snakes, turtles, any of these are actually really, really great species to observe, specifically because they're dealing, they're the ones that are struggling most with climate change and human impacts. They're very, very sensitive to these impacts. So if you do observe any of these, adding them to iNaturalist is awesome. Plants, of course, any kind of plant, plants and fungus, I should say. Mushrooms are not plants, but we'll put them in the same category. So leaves, trees and plants. We got lots of spring ephemerals right now, which are plants that grow for just a short period of time. So getting out and every week to ensure that you get those species that pop up for a short period of time and then they may die back. Is really important. So I know our trout lilies are growing and they should be blooming in the next couple of weeks. Our white trilliums, our maple trees, they all of them are budding now. So getting a good photo of those as well. And then any mushrooms or fungus that you find, there are some spring mushrooms and fungus, and we do have a walk coming up in May to look at those species, but any that were even left from last year are able to be added to the BioBlitz as well. Insects are a huge one. All of these insects were found on one goldenrod plant, and obviously we're not going to get goldenrod during this season. Goldenrod's more of a late summer, fall plant. But just looking at one kind of plant allows you to find so many species of insects, and every one insect that you take a picture of, it counts as one species. So here you have 4 species just from one plant, which is really interesting. So looking for the smaller things as well, not just taking pictures of the big, major animals, the sightseeing animals, also taking a closer look at the little plants, the little bugs that may be flying around. I even took a picture of a fly the other day, and that would count as a species. There's many, many, many different species of flies. So pretty interesting. With the insects, I will say though, unless they're very obviously a certain species. So this is called the red-banded leafhopper. Some people call it the candy-striped leafhopper. It's very obviously that insect. But with things like this, I think this is called an ebony beetle. It's very hard for you to actually identify what this species of insect is. So you may only be able to get down to the genus. Even scientists, they have to use like a microscope or even a magnifying glass to look at the specific details of insects. So by taking a lot of photos of insects in their different angles, it's really, really important. You may not always get the exact species, but even by just getting to genus is good enough too. And then also tracks. So this one is very interesting, but taking pictures of tracks counts as a species too. So any sort of nest that you can find, bird or insect nest, tracks like footprints in the snow or in the mud would count on iNaturalist as a specific species. Poop is a big one. All of my colleagues make fun of me because I take pictures of so many coyote poops on our trails. But if you upload a picture of a coyote poop onto iNaturalist, it identifies it as a coyote. So you get just another species by taking a picture of the poop. So I should be saying scat. That is the scientific way of saying it. But deer scat, rabbit scat, things like that. If you're not actually going to physically see that animal in person, taking a picture of their scat or their tracks will actually help you get another species on your list. And then also leaves, things like that, holes in the trees as well. Some woodpeckers make specific shapes in the trees. So for example, our pileated woodpecker, the biggest woodpecker, makes kind of like a oblong hole in the side of the trees. So getting a picture of that as well can help you identify. So tracks are very important as well. And the key to all of these photos, taking pictures of anything at Riverwood, is to get close and capture many images. So try to get as close as possible. Obviously, like I said, respect the animal. If it's a larger mammal or a bird that doesn't seem to like you very much, just maybe keep your space. But to get close, I mean more so with things like tracks, insects, plants, things that you can get very, very close to and get a good clear image, and also capture many images with different angles. Different angles is key, especially with insects and plants. With plants, get a picture of the flower, the leaf, the stem, the whole plant itself. For insects, get a picture of the front of the abdomen, the back of the abdomen, you know, the legs, all these different things. Getting different angles really helps with identifying that species and to get another, to get people to identify it and agree with your suggestion as well. So getting many photos and close photos is really important that are clear as well. For example, another thing, sometimes people will take an image of a tree from very far away, and then there'll be other trees in that image as well. Well, we can't really identify that it's a maple tree right in front because there may be an ash tree or there may be an oak tree beside it. So getting close to the subject so that it is clear what species you're trying to identify is really important too. And just so you know, we have 1,400 plant species on site. We have 180 resident and migratory species, bird species, and then 55 mammal species. Obviously, not all of these will be active during our BioBlitz right now, especially with the birds and the plants. You know, plants pop up at different seasons. Birds will migrate through for maybe a week and then they'll leave this area. So not all of these will be here at one time during this month, but just so you know, there's a high biodiversity at Riverwood. So taking a look at the little things in particular, that's key to getting your species list up there. I'm just going to check the chat to see. Oh, okay, they figured it out. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'm glad you figured that out. Awesome. Okay, contest rules and winning prizes. So this is everyone's favorite part. So the rules: you must be joined to the project TRC Spring BioBlitz 2022 on iNaturalist. The images must be taken at Riverwood. Images must be taken between April 15th and May 15th, 2022. Images must be taken by yourself, so they're personal images, and only one account can win each prize. So if you're a family and you want to do this together, I would suggest using one phone and just making an account for your family, and then going out, maybe 4 or 5 of you, and walking the trails and taking images all together. But it's only one account that will win each prize. So it's it could be a group family thing or just an individual as well. So prize number 1, the account with the most species observation will win a bird feeder, an Armstrong bird feeder, a gourmet blend, a huge bag of gourmet blend bird seed, and also a seed scoop, which is my favorite thing ever. I don't know if anyone's seen a seed scoop before, but that helps a lot. I usually make an absolute mess when I'm trying to refill bird feeders, so the seed scoop helps a lot too. So with the most species observation, you get all of this, and bragging rights too. And when I say species observation, this is what it kind of looks like. So this is from the fall BioBlitz last year. So we have observations. So those are actually how many photos were uploaded in total. So there was over 1,500 photos that were added to the BioBlitz. There was 510 species. So of those 1,500 observations, 510 different kinds of species. 280 identifiers. So identifiers are people that agree, they suggest an ID. So when I posted that white-throated sparrow photo and someone suggested, yes, I agree, this is a white-throated sparrow, they're called identifiers. Observers are any one of you that are watching right now and that are going to join the BioBlitz. So people that actually observe something during the BioBlitz and contribute to our project. Specifically though, we are looking at the species that are given. So observations, once again, how many photos you've taken and uploaded. Species is how many species you found. So it's not always the most observations that will win this prize. It's the person that has the most species. So as you can see, even here, Beth has made 327 observations. She found 124 species. But Jacqueline made 256 observations, less observations than Beth, but she has more species. So in this scenario, Nina would win because Nina has 191 species. So just keep track of where you are on the leaderboard. It's actually pretty cool. The app will show you who's kind of in the lead for each of those categories. And also another thing too, we want to see research grades. So if you uploaded this photo of the white-throated sparrow and it was kind of blurry and people couldn't really see if it was a white-throated sparrow and nobody agreed with your white-throated sparrow, it would just be a casual grade. So it wouldn't be research grade. And for this BioBlitz, anyone, we're only giving the prize to research grade species. So the person with the most research grade species will win that prize, if that makes sense. Prize number 2 for the best photograph. This is a new prize that we're giving away this year. So the person with the best photograph, this is going to be voted on by a panel of volunteers, which is really exciting. If you're really into photography and you have an awesome camera, even if you don't have an awesome camera, I know iPhones can take amazing photos and Androids. So there'll be about 10 photos that will be given to our volunteers and they will vote on the best photograph, and whoever wins that wins a signed copy of Predators of North America by Dave Taylor, and Dave Taylor is a naturalist on site. I'm sure many of you have been to his programs before or seen his webinars. So we will be giving away kind of a photographic journey of predators, which I think is very suitable for this kind of prize. And then the last prize, randomly selected account. So no matter your contribution during the BioBlitz, we will be giving away a Baltimore Orioles saucer feeder, which is super cool. I don't know if anyone's seen Baltimore Orioles, but they do occur quite regularly in the late spring and summer season. I wouldn't say regularly, but you can see them down on the trail along Cullum. The Baltimore Orioles are these bright orange birds, and they love sweet things. So this is a nectar feeder. They are nectar feeding birds. They also eat fruits. A randomly selected person, no matter the amount of observations, no matter the amount of species that are observed, will be winning one of these as well. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And a big good luck. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to see if there's any other questions that pop up now. Just going to close out here. Anyone have any questions? Let me check on Facebook too. I've got a question on Facebook. Are identifiers also supposed to be only people from Riverwood area? No, that doesn't matter. Actually, you'll find that some people that identify it are from all over the world, and that doesn't matter at all. And you really can't control that either. People will be able to see what you observe and they'll identify it for you, but they're from all around the world. That doesn't matter. That's a good question. Any other questions? And if anything pops up after this webinar as well, like feel free to email me at stephanie.keeler@theriverwoodconservancy.org. I'll put that in the chat right now. And on our BioBlitz project page, I will be posting, I'll be posting weekly updates on who's kind of in the lead, some cool species that have been seen on site, and some updates on everything else. So check out that as well. Another question, if I find a species that is at risk, will it show exactly where it is at Riverwood? No, it won't. So that's where we covered the geoprivacy. So when iNaturalist identifies a different species, for example, our wood turtle, it automatically changes the location so that it's private, so that people from the public can't find out where that endangered species is. So it puts it to private and you don't have to worry about that at all. It's a good question. All right. I think that's all of the questions. I am so excited. I'm hoping I can get out today at some point to Riverwood and take some pictures of things. But I'm really excited for everybody to join. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions at all. And make sure to keep an eye on our events page in the next coming days. The May schedule should be up soon, which will include some of our BioBlitz run programs as well. We have birding programs and fungi programs that are specific to the BioBlitz. So check those out as well. And I hope to see you all on site taking pictures of some animals and plants and things. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. Happy spring, and I will see you out there. Thank you, guys.